I'm particularly pleased to introduce to you today the newest alumni member of the College of Law's Board of Advisors. Frank Ryan is the U.S. Chair of Intellectual Property and Technology and Deputy Chair of the Media, Sports, and Entertainment sector at DLA Piper, one of the largest law firms in the world. He also serves on that firm's executive committee and global board. Mr. Ryan provides legal and strategic advice to domestic and multinational clients who draw on his experience in litigation, intellectual property, media and sports, and complex commercial matters. Before joining DLA Piper, he was a partner at the law firm of Nixon Peabody. Mr. Ryan has spent considerable time supporting the College of Law's academic programs. Most recently, in connection with the 40th anniversary celebration of our London X program, about which you can get further information, he organized a panel on sports law for our London X students and alumni that included distinguished practitioners representing the Premier League football, or soccer as we know it, and the British Horse Racing Authority, and he set up meetings for us with a number of members of the House of Lords. Most important to us, Mr. Ryan is Orange through and through. He's a 1994 alumnus of the law school, graduating magna cum laude and Order of the Coif, as well as a 1990 graduate of the Whitman School of Management. And as an undergraduate, he was a 4-year varsity letter winner as a wrestler. I think that he would agree with me, though, that the greatest thing that he took from his years at Syracuse was his wife, Melissa, who is also a double alumnus, graduating from the College of Arts and Sciences in 1990 and from the College of Law in 1994. Please join me in welcoming this year's convocation speaker, Mr. Frank Ryan.
Good afternoon, everybody. Dean Boys and your team, distinguished faculty, guests, alumni, students, and family and friends. Welcome to the convocation for the College of Law class of 2020 and the LLM program class of 2018. I cannot thank the College of Law and Dean Boys enough for bestowing upon me the great honor of speaking to all of you today. And specifically and most importantly, the honor to share with this great incoming class of future law graduates my thoughts and experiences accumulated during my time at this law school and in my 23 years of practicing law. This is a time for celebration and a period of great anticipation, but it is also time for preparation. To all of you incoming students, I challenge you to prepare for the trying times that await you in the coming days and weeks and months ahead. And no, I am not referring to the Syracuse winter. This path you are on, this journey of becoming a lawyer, is not an easy one, but it is your chosen path. It is difficult and complicated. It is serious and challenging, and it deserves nothing less than your full commitment and attention. And if you give that, if you are prepared to sacrifice and at times suffer, I promise you that law school will be the most rewarding intellectual experience of your life and will prepare you for an amazing career. I am thrilled that you are going through this difficult journey, this process of becoming a lawyer and all that it entails. And I'm equally thrilled that you're doing so at this great institution, which began educating lawyers in 1895, 122 years ago. Please look around at this amazing facility, soak it in, and take comfort in knowing how important the College of Law is to the greater university, to the faculty who have dedicated themselves to researching and teaching here, to Dean Boys and his team, who are now the shepherds of this great law school, and to the alumni who studied and sacrificed here before your recent arrival. You are in great hands. You are in a great community, and I offer you all my most heartfelt congratulations. As you've been informed, my name is Frank Ryan. I was a student athlete at Syracuse University, graduated from the undergraduate in 1990, and then received my JD in 1994. My wife, Melissa, who's sitting in the front row with our youngest son, Will, graduated in 90 and 94. We met as undergraduates and married October 1st, 1994, following our law school graduation. This law school and this university are in many ways where we grew up, where we began building our lives together, and where we remain deeply connected today. And now we're moving through a different phase of our lives. Incredibly, I'm here speaking to all of you. We have 3 sons, Zach, who's 18, Sean, who's 16, and Will, who's 13. And we just dropped off Zach at college on the West Coast. I turned 50 on September 21st of this year, and Melissa has the pleasure of reaching the 50-year-old milestone July of next year. I see in your eyes, you can't believe Melissa and I are about to turn 50, and that we have 3 children and 1 who just went off to college. Dean, I knew the moment I laid eyes in this class, this group, that it was very perceptive, so well done. Thank you very much. So here we are, and more importantly, there you sit. This is a gloriously diverse class with wildly different life experiences and goals and desires. I hope you take the opportunity to get to know and learn from as many of your classmates as you possibly can. As graduates of this law school, you will pursue vastly different paths. Some of you will practice criminal law. Others will accept clerkships. Some will pursue careers in government, industry, or politics. Some will join small firms or even create firms of your own. And some might pursue a path similar to mine and join a large multinational law firm. But right now, your career path is not the most pressing matter for you. The process of learning how to learn, developing your critical thinking, your ability to write, your ability to work as a team, to listen, and to develop the stamina and thick skin needed to succeed in law school and in the practice of law is what I suggest you dedicate your attention to. If you do, you'll have the building blocks. The foundation for success, no matter the career path you take. So how can I be helpful to you for the few minutes that we have? To help you just a little to prepare for what you're about to experience, this life you're about to enter into. I have 5 lessons for you. There are hundreds of lessons, but 5 that I thought were appropriate, and several stories that I've experienced in the practice of law that I hope that you would find useful today. Before I get to the lessons in the story, I need a little context. We need some context. As a high school student and as a freshman at Syracuse, I was an athlete student. I focused on athletics more than I did on academics. And that changed toward the end of my freshman year and into my sophomore year. I became a very serious student. And that led me ultimately to apply to the College of Law and to attend class here. I can assure you that I was not prepared, as any of you were, for law school. I knew nothing about law schools, nothing about law firms or the practice of law. I had no idea how to build my skills or ultimately compete for a job when I graduated. What I had going for me, however, was that I was ready to compete and I wanted to learn. And I did learn. I studied hard. I built strong relationships. I developed my skills, improved my critical thinking and writing, and I began participating in law school events like moot court and trial teams. I got engaged in this place. More importantly, I really began to listen and learn from other people. First from professors like Travis Lewin and Marty Freed. And then from my classmates. I learned from Liz August, Mark Bachman, Anne-Marie Burkle, my wife, Melissa Dunn, Dana Morris, Eric Paley, David Pierce, and Dave Pateska, and many, many others. I learned how they approached and solved problems, how they approached writing problems, how they built relationships, how they studied and managed the process of succeeding in law school. I constantly learned from my classmates. But before I stepped into law school, before I entered the doors of the College of Law, I developed a plan of my own, on my own. Now think about that. I developed a plan of what I intended to do when I graduated law school before I stepped into law school. Think about what I knew at the time that I developed that plan. Well, I admitted just a few minutes ago I didn't know much. So consider how effective my plan was likely to be, given my limited understanding of the things I needed to know to even create a plan. Think about what I knew about the opportunities that would present themselves to me in law school. Think of what I knew about the areas of law that I might study or the subjects that might be of interest to me. Some of you have probably done the same thing. You have a plan. I'm not suggesting that you abandon that plan, but I want you to be careful not to be too wedded to it, especially now in your career. Let me tell you what my plan was. I would graduate from law school. I would practice in the area of real estate or tax. I would work close to home. I would never work in New York City, and I would never commute. So what happened? I graduated from law school. I accepted a job at Nixon Hargrave as a commercial litigator in New York City with more than an hour commute. And what am I doing now? I'm a partner at DLA Piper, one of the largest, most successful law firms in the world, with approximately 4,700 lawyers in over 40 countries. As the dean said, I'm the chair of the intellectual property practice, and I sit in the board of the firm on its executive committee, and I co-chair our global media and sports practice. My primary office remains in New York City, and I still commute. The practice literally takes me all over the world. I've been blessed to represent clients like Nike and ESPN, Medtronic and ConMed, numerous professional sports franchises, Syracuse University, Al Jazeera, beIN Sports, controversial clients. I recently tried a $160 million false advertising case in federal district court in Wilmington, Delaware, and then got on a plane to Doha, Qatar, with Senator George Mitchell to continue investigating the labor practices for the migrant workers who are building the stadium infrastructure for the World Cup in 2022. Last week, from Tuesday until Thursday, I was in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and London to meet one of our global telecommunications clients who we are working with on a variety of commercial matters. So how did my plan, how does it look compared to what I'm doing now? Does it sound at all like what I'm up to? Not even close. And how could it? I didn't know anything then compared to what I know now. I didn't know anything then compared to what I knew 6 months into law school. Think about the opportunities I would have missed that I never would have been exposed to if I just stuck to my plan that I had going into law school. So, lesson 1, write your plans in pencil for the rest of your life. When I say that, I realize that it dates me because I suspect none of you even use pencils anymore, but it works for me. First, make sure you have enough information upon which to build your plan. And plans change, the practice changes, technology changes, life changes, you will change. Be flexible and please be patient with your career and be open-minded, especially now. If you are too focused on doing one thing or attaining one thing, you will miss so many other opportunities that will present themselves to you over the next 3 years. And most importantly, have the courage to change your plan when you recognize that change is needed. Even when your plan is working and it's successful, you need to be ready to change it. And let me give you a story about when I experienced this in my life. As Dean Boyes mentioned, I was a partner at Nixon Peabody. I was a lawyer there for 16 years. I was the chair of the litigation department. The lawyers there were great to me. They trained me and taught me. They helped me develop into a very formidable litigator. And I think they loved me. My plan was to stay there and to continue to take on more senior roles in the firm, maybe become the chairman of the firm someday, and continue to build our growing sports and media practice. But at some point, things began to change. Our media and sports clients were asking for assistance from us for work in California and in Asia and in Europe. Nixon Peabody was a great firm, and it was my home, but it wasn't set up for that. We tried to improve and expand the firm's capabilities, but client opportunities were moving too fast for us. We were faced with an option, either stay at Nixon and risk losing the practice or finding an international law firm to find home. And that's what we ultimately did. We left a firm that was our home, a place that was safe, and a place where we were very successful, to join DLA. And as they say, the rest is history. We have built at DLA one of the finest, if not finest, global sports and media practices in the world. But that never would have happened if I simply stuck to my plan. Lesson 2, ask for help and be helpful. Being helpful is possibly the most powerful skill and talent one can develop. The ability to make other people better makes you one of the most valuable individuals that any organization can have anywhere. Asking and providing help makes you stronger and better, not weaker and dumber. Asking for help reduces the chance that you'll make a serious mistake, while providing help to others actually helps you improve your skills. Before you ask for help, make sure you've done the hard work. Don't put your problem off on somebody else. And if you're helping somebody, don't solve their entire problem. Help them solve the problem. In law school, you should find opportunities to ask your classmates and professors for help. You should learn how to be helpful. You should learn how to develop that skill. It's critically important. You should discuss writing assignments. Ask people to read things you've written, to proof things you've written, to challenge you on conclusions you've drawn on cases or other matters that you might be working on. As a law student, I was comfortable asking for help, and I was comfortable giving help. And I continue to do that today. I literally have hundreds of stories in my career where I either asked for help or received help in the practice. The one story that sticks out to me the most was when I was representing a former teammate of mine named Mark Kerr. Mark, his nickname was the Smashing Machine, and he was a very well-known Ultimate Fighter. And Mark got sued by the UFC. And the lawyer representing the UFC was a very prominent, very well-known New York City trial lawyer from one of the top firms in New York. I appeared in the case, and about a week after, I got a phone call from this lawyer, and he said, the call went something like this. Frank, I've seen the papers you've submitted. I'm going to destroy your client. You're basically a fool. I'm going to probably do some damage to you. And by the way, I know several of the partners in your firm, and I'm contemplating calling them to let them know the positions you're taking in this case. I think I recall, and I'm not proud of this, telling him what I thought he should do to himself, and then I asked him whether there was anything else he wanted to discuss with me, and he said no, and that ended the phone call. I'm typically not rattled by something like that, but I was a mid-level associate. This was a pretty serious matter. So I went and asked for help. I went to one of my mentors. I went in there and I explained to her what the situation was. She happened to know this lawyer very well. She took the time to sit down with me and go through the case. We were making some very aggressive but right and reasonable, ultimately, I think, public policy arguments. We concluded at the end of our time together that we were right. We were going to prevail, but it was going to be a messy fight. She told me to sit down. She picked up the phone, dialed the partner who had called me, and proceeded to rip him for several minutes about how he was supposed to behave and what he was supposed to do and not supposed to do and how he was supposed to conduct himself. That never left me, what she did for me. And she and I remained close friends, friendly, I should say, to this day. So when you need help, if something's going on in class or something personal you have an issue about, ask for help. People want to help you. And when someone does help you, you better find the time to help them. Find the time to be there for your classmates and for others. Lesson 3, don't be deterred by doubters, especially those from Duke. I'll explain what I mean. I want you to find a way to be bold and take risks. Don't be limited by doubters. Be confident in yourself, and I want you to dream big. As an associate at Nixon, I made the decision that I wanted to build a practice. I was blessed by being able to get engaged in many trials, in many cases, working on the team with other people. But I wanted to develop a practice. I wanted to have clients that were responding to me, or I was the contact person. I was coming up with the strategies and things of that nature. An opportunity materialized to represent ESPN in an intellectual property case. A classmate of ours, Holland Campbell, Melissa's and mine, had taken a job at ESPN in the IP department. And she said, why don't you come up, meet the general counsel, make a presentation, see if there's some opportunities to take some work. I began preparing for the meeting. I built a team to meet ESPN, to meet the general counsel, to talk about what our capabilities were at Nixon and how we were the right firm to help them on this matter that they had. During my preparation and before the ESPN meeting, one of the senior partners at Nixon asked me why I was wasting my time pursuing ESPN when in his estimation, there was no chance we would pry even a single matter away from ESPN's existing law firm. He was a smug Duke grad. He motivated me, though. I was so excited when he said that to me. We went back, worked on a presentation more. We went ahead and prepared our opportunity with ESPN. We met with the GC in Bristol, Connecticut. We presented our qualifications and why we were right for the assignment. 2 weeks later, after our visit to ESPN, we received word about the fate of our proposal. The Duke partner was right. ESPN did not shift a single matter from its current law firm to us. It shifted its entire intellectual property portfolio to us. Overnight, we received thousands of files and several major intellectual property litigations. It was a career-altering event for me and for our team. And it was oh so sweet going back to that partner to explain to him what the success was that we had. That's a unique story, but it happened. So dream big, think big. Do not be intimidated or limited by doubters. Lawyers by nature are risk averse and they're cynics. Don't let that impact you when you're on a certain path. Lesson 4 is build a great team. I strongly suggest you watch Margaret Heffernan's TED Talk on teamwork. She provides a powerful case for why teamwork is so important and who you should include on your team. Surround yourself with diversity, people who will challenge you and make you better. Encourage challenging discussions. Brainstorm with people who have a different perspective than you and come from a different walk of life or different geography than you, and listen to what they have to say. Talk less and listen more on your team. And it's not just the bricks in your team, meaning the people, it's the mortar as well. It's what connects one person to the other on the team. I live a life by team now. There's nothing I do independent of my team. In every single facet of my professional life, the team is the most important thing. We have matters going on right now in Rome, in Doha, in Dubai, in Tel Aviv, in New York, in Washington, in Los Angeles. It's impossible to do work like this without a team. It's impossible to deliver services to clients who are as demanding as ours without a team. Find your team and do it now. It's a great lesson for you to start early in your career building your team. That team you have now may change over time, but the skills you develop in listening to other people, hearing their positions on things, and responding to them respectfully is, again, one of the most important skills you can develop in your career, especially a legal career. Finally, lesson 5, think like Senator George Mitchell, long-term and work hard. Your career is not a sprint. Do not be impatient in your career. It will unfold over a long period of time. Here I am standing in front of you, and I've moved into the 3rd decade of my career. And in the 23 years I've been practicing law, I've had many careers in my career. Let me tell you a story about Senator Mitchell. If you don't know who he is, you should. He and I are working together on several different matters, but one thing we're doing together is we're monitoring the labor conditions of the workers in Doha who are building the stadiums in Qatar. He and I recently, about 3 months ago or so, were there doing an inspection. I took a red-eye flight from JFK to Doha, landed, got some rest. Senator Mitchell took a flight, red-eye flight, from JFK to Lisbon to speak at a UBS meeting, presentation he had to deliver. So he arrived there around 2 o'clock, I think, for the meeting. When he was finished there, he then flew from Lisbon to Doha to meet with me. He arrived at around 1:30 in the morning. At the time, Senator Mitchell was 84 years old. We prepared at 1:30 in the morning for breakfast and then meetings the following day that started at 7:30 a.m. He was ready to go. We prepped. We went through what we had to go through. 7:30 in the morning, he's at breakfast. We get ready. We have meetings all day. We inspect the labor camps. We speak and interview multiple people. Our day ended around 9 p.m. We got everything done so we could leave earlier. Then we go to dinner. 10 o'clock, we have dinner. Around halfway through dinner, Senator Mitchell says to me, Frank, I think we can catch the 2:10 a.m. flight out of Doha back to JFK. All I wanted to do was go up to my hotel room and go to sleep. I was literally shot. This 84-year-old man is saying, let's get back on the plane and go home. So I said, Senator, let me look into whether we can get a flight back. Sure enough, we got seats back. Beautiful Qatar Airway flight, 777. He and I are in the middle row together. And all I'm thinking about is that nice, cushy pillow. I'm going to lay my head down on this. At 10,000 feet, I'm laying back, and I'm pulling the covers up, and I'm going to bed. We hit 10,000 feet. Senator Mitchell turns his light on, and he takes a stack of papers out. He was working on his last manuscript, his last book that he just recently published. And I said to him, Senator, you're 84 years old. You're now embarrassing me. I need to go to sleep, please. He said, Frank, I have work to do. If you have work to do, get it done. So I turned my light on, and I worked for the next 3 or 4 hours until he finally turned his off, and he went to sleep. And then I slept the rest of the way back to JFK. The reason I offer the story for you is just to make you understand how hard it is to practice, how challenging it is, and how committed you'll need to be successful at this. But also, you can do this for a long period of time if you manage it properly, if you approach it properly, if you think about it properly. And it's an interesting story, I think, to give you when you're first entering law school, but I hope that you'll have some perspective, at least as much as you can now, on the potential length of the career that you can have in the practice of law. The process of becoming a lawyer and practicing law is for people of action, for people of courage and conviction, not for those who wish to sit idly by. Please listen to the inspiring words of Teddy Roosevelt, who said, "Far better to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered with failure, than to remain with those poor spirits who neither enjoy much nor suffer much, because they live in the gray twilight that knows not victory nor defeat." We have too much to do to sit on the sidelines. We need you to step out of the gray twilight and into the bright sunshine. So, incoming students, it's time. It's time to go write your plan, but do it in pencil. Ask for help and provide help to others. Never be deterred by doubters, especially those from Duke. Be bold and take risks. Build a great team and be a great team member. And finally, think like Senator George Mitchell, long-term and work hard. Dean Boyce and the entire law school family, thank you for allowing me to share my experiences and for inviting Melissa and me to participate in convocation. To the incoming class, you are in great hands. You are in a great community. It is now time to step out of the gray twilight and into the sunshine. Best of luck to you all. Thank you very much.